Hello, everyone. How's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's continue our complete beginner's guide to Star Wars Unlimited by just doing a little playtesting with a couple of decks I've thrown together. And these decks are archetypal decks that will demonstrate different play styles. So the first deck that we're going to look at is a Sabine Wren deck. So Sabine is going to be our leader, and she has an action that you can just exhaust her as a leader, and she deals 1 damage to each base. Yes, that's your own base and the enemy's base. But Sabine is running what we like to call an aggro deck. This is an aggressive deck that tries to win as fast as possible. So you're going to be moving really fast, playing a lot of low-cost units, and trying to overwhelm your opponent before they get a chance to stabilize. To help with that, she's going to be using this green rare base called the Energy Conversion Lab. It does start at 25 HP instead of 30 because it has an epic action that allows you to play a unit, but you have to pay its cost. If it costs 6 or less from your hand, and you get to give it ambush, and this allows you to just throw out a unit. You pay for it, you use the epic action, and you give it ambush to kind of sneak and attack an action cheat a little bit, and just move faster. And here is the deck right here. Now, what I've done, and I'll show you, I'll probably cut away at some point to that, which is these decks I have built on Star Wars Unlimited Database, or swudb.com. Created an account there, and you can make decks and then save them, and then copy the JSON file and paste it into the deck importer, and then you just... this is the text right here for the Sabine deck, and then you just click Create Deck, and boom, here it is right here. So we're going to be going against this Sabine deck. Sabine is our leader, and Sabine is just really, really fast and leans in so hard to the amazing cards like Fleet Lieutenant to buff your rebel units, and then, you know, the Green Squadron A-Wing is just sitting there getting benefits from the wing leader, and then you've got good old Red 3 just helping everybody out. You've got Sabine herself, who is insane, and then you have the terrifying For a Cause I Believe In to do some face damage to try to finish things out. So I'm going to, and I'll just explain this, in this series. I am not an expert. And all I'm going to be doing now is just showing different decks and trying to demonstrate what they look like. Sabine is what we call an aggro deck. This is a deck that aims to take down people as fast as possible. So it's an incredibly fast deck with a lot of cheap units. You could see that most of the stuff costs 3 resources on this graph here. And you're going in fast and furious to just try to blow away the enemy's base before they can stabilize. Whereas Palpatine is a controlling deck, and that's a very slow deck that tries to ramp up. In this case, using green ramp to get to the higher, more expensive resource cards, and then just control the game with big value plays that this kind of a fast deck can't keep up with. So it's a great matchup to see some archetypes and learn some strategies. And plus, this deck, like I said, it's very easy to create it if you've got enough cards. There's only a few rares in here. The rare base, the red 3s are rare, and then of course K2 is ridiculous and also rare, but I don't think there's any legendaries at all in this deck. So it's quite reasonable to set up, and it's so powerful that you'll see a lot of these around the environment, and it's good to know as a kind of test, can my deck defeat or stand up to the Sabine Green deck? And that's what we're going to find out when we move over into Tabletop Simulator. Once you're ready and you've built your deck on Star Wars Unlimited Database, or SWUDB, you can just Google that to find this, create an account, and start making your decks. You just copy the JSON text right here, the .json text, and then inside Tabletop Simulator, you can paste it into the deck area that I'll show you in a moment to bring in and import the cards you've got. So here is the mono green Palpatine deck that I'm going to be using over on the Star Wars Unlimited database. And this is what you're going to use to basically build your deck, and then once you get it published and you're ready for it, and I keep my stuff private, just, because, just how I choose to do it. But once I actually get a deck that I'm proud of, I might publish it to get feedback from others. But for now, these are just private decks that I have, and there's nothing special about them. But when I first got the game, I was using Palpatine because in the pre-release event, he's the leader I got in my boosters, and he was great. And then I was playing green-red, but I kind of shifted away with this to make a more controlled deck that focused on just leaning into green really hard, using the energy conversion lab as the base. And here is my list right here. I'm not going to kind of go through everything that's in it because this is not the best deck in the world. It's certainly not a net deck of... There's many mono-green Palpatine decks out there that people are using. This one is me experimenting, first of all, and also it's me using cards that I own. So I'm only using cards that I have, which is why you see, for example, no Darth Vader. Darth Vader is incredible and fits so beautifully into this deck as a legendary unit, but I don't have any, and it's the most expensive card around. It's between $70 to $100 each, I believe, right now. I didn't open any in my booster packs, and I am not going to buy that card, so I'm just doing the best with what I can. And I'm trying to see if I can stand up against Sabine Green so that my control deck can at least weather the aggro storm and maybe, have a chance. If it can't beat that, then we're in really bad shape. Now, I'm also playing 3 copies of Traitorous because, number one, I think it's funny to play a card like Control Magic, and it can be really useful, but we'll see how it goes as we play. And I'm going to be playing against, like I said, a Sabine Green deck that I net decked, but because that deck is so easy to build, I actually have all of the cards for it. It doesn't require anything too fantastic. So this is a fun one, and I'm experimenting with cards like the Devastator, this incredibly expensive Imperial capital ship, the Relentless as well, and I'm trying out, we've got a Reinforcement Walker, we've got the 97th Legion, I've got 3 Rucks because Ruck is great, and especially with the energy conversion lab, you can charge him in. I'm even got an Agent Chalice, just to tool around and see what we can do. I'm playing a Taggy, and I'm excited to see what this deck looks like as we keep it going. I'll put a deck list in the description below so you can see this, and I'll also probably cut away to talk about using Star Wars Unlimited database just to help explain it to new people who want to get in and try to do this on your own. It's really, really easy. If I can do it, you can do it. And then I'm going to be playing against a mono green Palpatine deck that I made. So this is only got 2 aspects. It's got command and it's got Imperial or villain, because I have decided that the ramping abilities of Palpatine and the energy conversion lab are just so good together that playing pure green is fantastic. So this is a control deck. So this deck tries to ramp up and get resources that outpace the opponent and then play big expensive cards to take control of the board that are just have more value than the cheaper cards that Sabine is going to be playing in her aggro deck, for example. It's a classic matchup of a fast deck versus a slower deck, and we'll see how it works. Now, I will mention that these decks I have built myself, and Sabine, I used a recipe I found online, a deck list I found online, because I wanted to have the best Sabine deck, or just one of the really good Sabine decks that I've seen out there, to play against and test to see if my own decks are pretty good. And this deck is also really easy to make because it doesn't require any legendaries, just a few rares here and there, with K2 and Red 3, for example. So it's pretty inexpensive to create this deck. And then this deck up here, this Palpatine deck, it can be much better if you have Darth Vader, which is the most expensive legendary in the set, but I don't have any. So instead of playing the best optimal Palpatine deck possible, I'm going to be playtesting against a deck that I can actually create with my own physical collection to see what I can do with the cards I actually own. And this is kind of, you could just play net deck against net deck, and that's also certainly something you want to do to learn all the strategies and things. But sometimes I like to just see what I can do with my own cards, and that's what we're going to kind of demonstrate here. Now, once you've imported these, you can just drag them over like normal, like we did in the last video. But you can also do something, which is you can grab one of these deck boxes, either the booster pack or the R2-D2 deck box. You just pull it off. And then you can just pick up the Sabine deck and drop it inside R2, drop the base in there, and then drop the leader in there. And then all of these items live inside this little bag. You see how it has a number 3 and the word deck box on it. And then you can actually right-click on this, and you can click Save Object, and then give it a name and save it into the root directory so that when you boot up Tabletop Simulator again, you can then go into Objects and then go into Saved Objects and then recall the decks that you've saved without having to re-import them every single time, and then just have them here and ready to go. So that's kind of the process that I use for making life a little faster. So down here, we have the Palpatine deck, and we'll put Palpatine here, and we'll put the deck over here, and then we'll drag out the base. We're going to both be using the best base in the game, the Energy Conversion Lab, and then we'll move this over here. We don't need it anymore. And we are going to set Palpatine to be red, like this. And we will then switch over to blue and be Sabine, and we'll set her up like this. So she goes here, and the base goes here. And here we go with her deck. And I'll just move this out of the way, and let's get started and see how this matchup fares. So, again, I am not an expert at all in this game. And so at this point in the guide series, I'm just going to maybe see what we think about this. I don't know if anybody's going to want to watch these videos because my channel is mostly, well, not mostly, it just is a gaming channel. So this is kind of outside of that space, and yet I've played a lot of Magic the Gathering on the channel. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! I played Slay the Spire, I've played some other digitized version of board games like Dominion, which is a great deck building game, for example. So there is a lot of crossover, and I know a lot of my community does play CCGs, so I thought there would be interest there. And I am not, like I said, like a professional tournament-winning player or anything like that. I'm just a regular person who loves these kind of games, and I'm just going to walk through my thought process. And if you are a person who knows about card games, knows about Star Wars Unlimited, and you'd like to share tips and pointers to kind of help make this a more educational resource for everyone, that would be fantastic. We could just have a dialogue about, what's the better play, and, which cards might work better, or what decks you're thinking about, and or decks you'd like to see, things like that. And we could just kind of have an open conversation as we build a resource to get new people into the game, understanding it, and just kind of trying to raise the level of education around the game so that people can play it at a higher level and have fun with it. So I'm going to shuffle up Sabine's deck using R on her deck, and then we'll just push 6 and draw her cards. And we'll kind of explain these decks as we go by playing them. So again, Sabine's fast, right? So it's good to know the deck's purpose as we get into it. And her purpose is to blow up the enemy's base as fast as possible. So given that we want to go fast, this Gorilla Attack Pod is a cool card, but it costs 6. So we probably want to use that as a resource. And same thing with the Steadfast Battalion here. It's for a few turns down the road. But what we want to check is, do I have enough stuff that I can play on turn 2 that I feel good? And yeah, I do. I mean, I could just drop Sabine here on turn 2, or the Battlefield Marine, for example. Now, it's unfortunate that I don't have a great 3-drop, so I could mulligan if I wanted to get like one of the premier 3 drops, but I think this is pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these 2 expensive cards, just put them down as resources here for myself for later, and then we need to grab this D12 and just kind of, you can, by the way, push R a bunch to bounce this and roll it, and then we will see Sabine got a 2, and we'll roll for Palpatine, and he got an 11. So he's going to get the initiative and get to go first. So then we will switch back over to the Emperor. Now, Emperor Palpatine here has... I'm playing Energy Conversion Lab, which might be controversial because I'm playing a control deck, so maybe I don't want to start with 5 less HP, and that's certainly a topic of conversation, but I think that the ability to launch something in at ambush is worth the 5 health, and we'll see how it goes. His ability allows you to pay 1 resource and defeat a friendly unit to deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. So it's kind of like confusing. Like, you're like, why would I want to kill my own unit? Well, because drawing a card is good and getting to ping something for 1 damage is also very good. And it goes with his massive ability on his flip side, which is that if he flips over into the unit side, when he's deployed, you get to take control of a damaged non-leader unit. So you can ping him, or damage something, and then you can flip him over, and for free, flipping him is free, and then you get to just take maybe their biggest unit, and it's a huge swing. Now, however, as awesome as that sounds, he is one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, leader to flip, which is 8 resources. Okay, so on the other side, you could see Sabine flips at 4. And so she's going to be out there much faster. So we have to try to survive until that point with our control deck, and let's see if we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck. I'm going to push 6 to draw 6 cards for our starting hand. And let's see if we get anything that is worth starting with. Okay. So, did I really shuffle? I mean, I guess. I do have some stuff that's worth starting with. Okay, so I have Colonel Yarlin, who is a great starter for us because whenever you play a green unit, you get to heal 1 damage from your base, including him. Now, that being said, I don't have any other green units except him in my hand, and the problem is that he's unique, so I can't play him again unless he dies, which is actually very possible. I have 2 cell block guards, which are just nice sentinels to help defend our base, and I have the old Viper probe droid, which will let us kind of look at their hand, but it's also a 3-power unit, which can, defend and take out something that they've got. And we have a Devastator, which we probably want to flip over. But the question is, do we want to get greedy and try to find a ramp card instead of this starter hand? And I think we do. I think even though this is really, really nice, if we don't ramp, I don't know how successful we're going to be at winning. But now you know what? I'm not going to get crazy. I was thinking about doing it. I have 6 ramp cards in the deck. I have Resupply and I have Super Laser Technician. But I believe that being able to play the Colonel should be enough, because ramping is one thing, but you can also just heal to kind of stall long enough to get your stuff out there. So we'll turn the Devastator, obviously, into a resource. And then the question is, what else do we want to turn into a resource? And, it might seem wild to keep 2 of these guys, but they're just so nice. Remember, in Star Wars Unlimited, you only have 3 copies at maximum of any one card in your deck. So, the idea that if I turn him into a resource, then I might only have 1 more. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I might need his healing to help me out. So I'm going to actually say, let's then flip over 1 cell block guard, because here's just kind of my thought process. Play him on 2, play this cell block guard on 3, and then on 4, you could potentially play these 2 cards at the same time. Now, you're probably not going to do that, but it's nice to just kind of map out a curve, sort of. But there's so many ways you could play this. You could pitch this. You could just, try to get your ramp cards. You could, instead of flipping this, you could flip this for a resource and just keep all of the Sentinel to block with. However, even though Sentinel is amazing, Sabine has a lot of Saboteur in her deck, which gets around it, so maybe it's not worth it. So I'm going to do it like this and just see how it goes. I'm learning the deck too. I've only played this a few times, so I'm not an expert. I have a lot to learn, so let's learn together. So I put these two down, and I've got the initiative, so it's my turn. So I'm going to go ahead and play the Colonel right here. Now, he would heal me, but I'm at full health, so I can't be healed. So we just kind of set him down, and it's now Sabine's turn. And Sabine then is going to say, well, what do I want to play? Sabine is the best one for us to play because she's just so good. She's a 2/3. If you have 3 aspects among other friendly units, she can't be attacked. And then when you attack, you get to do 1 damage to the defender or to a base. So I'm going to do this, and we'll just put down Sabine just like that. And then we'll change colors over here. And, Palpatine's going to say, well, I've used my resources. I can't use my action because it costs a resource. So I'm just going to claim the initiative. And go first next turn. And then so Sabine's like, that's fine. What I'm going to do is go ahead and use Sabine to blow something up. Now, I could... Oh, by the way, excuse me, a couple of things. Number 1, there were some other plays I could have done. I could have thrown Sabine out with the Energy Conversion Lab and launched her into Colonel Yarlin and killed him if I really wanted to, but I'm not that worried. And then, number 2, it is worth explaining. Sabine here is the explosive artist. This is her. And if I flip Sabine, you could see that these are both unique Sabine Wrens, but this is the galvanized revolutionary. So this is why you can play both of them at the same time, because they're both unique, but they're different. The pictures are obviously different. The stats are different, and so they are not the same card, so they can both be out. And it's very likely that, they might be in your game. Okay, so now it comes back to Sabine. And I'm just going to exhaust Sabine, and we're going to do 1 damage to each base. And now Sabine is all done. So we will go ahead and draw 2. Okay, cool. We'll ready everything. And now it's time to switch back over to Palpatine. Palpatine will draw 2. And, I got a resource with both parties. So, what do I want to resource? Well, we did draw a Homestead Militia, which is an awesome unit that gains Sentinel when we have 6 or more resources, and he's just a 3/4, which is really cool. But I think that we're going to flip Traitorous into a resource because we can't afford it. So we'll just kind of put it down there like that, and then we'll wake everything up. And I'm actually really, really considering just using the epic action on the Energy Conversion Lab to throw down the Homestead Militia with ambush and kill Sabine. And he would live, by the way. He would have 1 health left, and Sabine... actually, he would have 2 health, because Sabine only does 2 when you attack her. And I would get rid of Sabine. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have knowledge of the Sabine deck. Whenever you play matchups again and again, you start to get knowledge of what the deck can do. And a lot of what the Sabine deck is about is playing cards that will buff an existing card. Like, so you can play the Wing Leader or the Lieutenant, and then you make the unit on board much stronger and then rocket in a bunch of damage to the base or trade up and kill a unit. So if we keep their board clear, of readied units, then it can be something that will allow us to stabilize. And also, it's just such a good idea to kill a unit that's ready before it gets to go. So I think, it might be crazy, but I'm just experimenting, and I think I'm just going to use the epic action on the energy conversion lab right away to drop this dude. We'll pay 1, 2, 3 like that, and I'm going to launch it into Sabine. And he will, because he comes in with ambush, he's able to attack. He'll do 3 damage to Sabine, who will be killed. Now, a lot of things are going to trigger right here, and I get to choose the order that they happen in, but the Colonel will go, and let's go ahead and actually just push the damage onto our guy. He takes 2. The Colonel gets to trigger because I played a command unit or a green unit, and he heals 1 damage from our base. So it also heals us to do that play. So we kill Sabine, and we heal our base, which is quite good. And then we just flip back over here. And remember, I do need to play a resource before I go. So what do I want to resource with my hand? Well, probably Metal Ceremony. This is not a great card, but it could be if you have a bunch of rebels, then you get a lot of value. But I often resource this card. There we go. Now we have 3 resources available. So we want to make sure that we do something which is called curving out or using all of our mana. These are 2 different concepts, but a lot of the time they can overlap. So what I mean is, if you have 3 resources, you want to try to play something that costs 3, because that's using all of your resources, which is great, and it's using the most expensive thing that you could possibly play, which is good value, if possible. So in our situation, we can't quite do that because we have 3 2s, and then we have this event that is 1 resource, but it won't work for us because Rebel Assault is great if you have a board presence. It says attack with a Rebel unit, it gets +1, +0, and then attack with another Rebel unit, it gets +1, +0 for this attack. So basically, what this allows you to do is, if you just have 1 rebel, well, they get +1 power, which is not that great. But if you have 2, they both get +1 power, and you get to action cheat and attack with 2 units at the same turn, which can be really, really good. Like if your opponent is planning on having an extra turn to set up or kill something, you do this, you get 2 attacks in. It's fantastic. But it's important to note that when you play a unit, it comes into play exhausted. And so what that means is, it's not capable to attack. So you can't play this and attack with it because it's exhausted. It just came into play. Now, I could use my own energy conversion lab if I wanted to roll something out and kill Colonel Yarlin, and that's actually not a bad idea, but I don't think that we need to do that at this moment. I think what our better play would be is to probably play a Battlefield Marine, something that we know is strong enough to not lose to this guy when he attacks. None of ours would be, but if I played the Rebel Pathfinder, for example, the Colonel could attack it and not die, which I don't think he would do that, but, it's possible. I'm wondering, I might actually want to use my energy conversion lab and just kill the Colonel with my Battlefield Marine and leave out a 3-1 Marine, because the Colonel's just going to keep going off, healing up, and they're just going to have 2 units on the board. Like, even if I don't do it and I just play this guy and the Colonel is just like, well, I'll just attack your base or whatever, it doesn't feel great. But I think I'll save it. I'm going to try to be greedy here, and we'll just play the Battlefield Marine. Ding, ding. Use a couple of resources. And we maybe can set something up with this. And we'll go ahead and change colors. And Palpatine is going to say, all right, this is an interesting choice. I can attack the base, or I could just take the initiative. Like if I don't care about 2 base damage. I can't use Palpatine's ability because I don't have any energy. Honestly, I'm going to take the initiative and not attack. It's not great. Like, I'm not trying to race them on damage. I don't need to worry about that at all. It's much more important for me to have the initiative. So then Sabine can't do anything else except use the leader here and go ahead and send in damage on both of us like that. And now it's back to Palpatine to draw 2. Cool. Okay. So we ended up getting Emperor's Royal Guard. Now, Emperor's Royal Guard is fantastic in Palpatine because they get a benefit from being with Palpatine. They're a 3/4, and if you control an official unit, which the Colonel is, they gain Sentinel. And if I control Emperor Palpatine as a leader or unit, which I do, then it gets an extra HP. So it's really a 3/5 for 3, which is just strictly better than this guy. Although this guy always has Sentinel, and this only gains it with the official out on the board. So I think we're pleased with this. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and resource this droid, and then we will wake everything up with the ready button. And what do I want to do? My turn. Oh, I need to do Sabine's stuff so that her board looks right. So I'll just flip back over here really quickly, and we will draw 2. And yeah, Sabine is drawing really badly. She got this, which okay, and another medal ceremony. I mean, I could use this if I wanted to just start throwing stuff at the base and not worrying, but I don't know if that's something that we can get away with. I think we save it and try to spam the board with stuff. So I will go ahead and resource this, and then we will wake everything up with Sabine, and then we'll go back to Palpatine because it's his turn. Here we go. Okay. So Palpatine. What do we want to do? Now this has 3 health, so we have the opportunity to just use this fool and trade. And we'll definitely do that because we don't want Sabine attacking us. So, and this guy's almost dead. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and send this guy in there. He dies. And then this dude dies. And we're done. So it goes back to Sabine. And Sabine is going to just try to chuck stuff onto the battlefield and see if anything can stick. So we will pay 2 and throw down the Battlefield Marine. Palpatine is like, okay, I see you. I'm going to pay 3 and put down Emperor's Royal Guard. And then this will allow me to heal 1 from my base, from the Colonel. And this guy will protect the Colonel. I always do that. Okay. Here. Go over here. And now what are we going to do? Well, I will play the Rebel Pathfinder like this. Now, in hindsight, I could have used the ECL to finally take out the Colonel with my Battlefield Marine, which wouldn't have been a bad idea. But I didn't know that this was going to come out. But we can dodge that with the Saboteur or with the Spec Force Soldier, who allows you to make a unit lose Sentinel for the phase. So maybe we'll try to get that next turn. We're happy, at least, as Sabine, because Palpatine hasn't put down any ramp cards. And, again, the Colonel can't kill anything. Now, I could use Palpatine's ability, but I don't want to kill the Colonel. He's been doing good work, so I'm just going to claim the initiative again. And it goes back to Sabine, and we know what Sabine's going to do. She's just going to activate here, try to push some damage over, and that's it. So then we will draw 2 as Palpatine. Okay. Now the Emperor's Legion is an interesting card. I'm experimenting with this. I don't know how much I actually want it, but it allows you to trade a bunch and then play this at the end of the turn, basically to return each unit in your discard pile that was defeated to your hand. So it might just be a waste, but I'm just kind of seeing what it does. Now, we also drew Relentless, which in this matchup at this stage is not great, so we will drop it as a resource, and then we will ready everything over here. And then let's just go ahead and flip over to Sabine. And oops. We'll draw 2. Okay. Sort of interesting. Oh, you know what? I made a terrible blunder. I should have flipped Sabine last turn. But to be honest, I think it's going to be okay to save her for this turn. Because we can Medal Ceremony with everybody, you know, and get max value out of that card. So I'll pretend like that's the plan, and we will drop this as a resource and ready everything. Okay, here we go. So what does the Emperor want to do? Well, I think we can just send the Royal Guard in to kill this. Or I could just, you know, drop another Royal Guard if I wanted to. If I do this, they can trade and kill my Royal Guard, but a 2-for-1 just seems like really desirable. So I'll go ahead and use this to kill the Pathfinder. So the Royal Guard will take 2. And then it's Sabine's turn. Okay. So Sabine is like, alright, I see what you did. I don't like it. I will I'm going to pay 1, and I'll play the Spec Force Soldier to make this guy lose Sentinel for the turn. And I'm just going to put a random reminder token over here so we remember that he doesn't have Sentinel. Alright. And we'll come back over here to red. And now Palpatine is going to say, okay, I see what you did. Well, it's time for me to go 1, 2, 3 and play another Royal Guard. So we were trying to make this guy lose Sentinel so we could kill the Colonel, and it just did not work. It worked horribly. So that's bad for the Sabine side. And Sabine's like, I see. And I think what I'm going to do, honestly, is kind of have to throw a Hail Mary. I mean, I will, I guess. I'm going to play the Pathfinder with It doesn't help is the problem. Like, I could play the Pathfinder and launch him with the energy conversion lab, but we have this Sentinel guy. Now, the Pathfinder has Saboteur, so we could hit the Colonel, but... Oh, did we heal? I don't think we did. Play another green guy. We could hit the Colonel, but it doesn't kill him. So do we need to just be going face at this point? No, I think I know what I need to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Sabine to put a damage on both bases. And then Palpatine is going to say, I'm going to actually have the Colonel kill this and take 2. And then over here, I guess I will play the Rebel Pathfinder using the ECL. And now I could kill the Colonel because he made that play. Now, that play was probably right. You know, I don't know if the Colonel knew that that was there, and we have an extra Colonel. So then we'll just kind of put this over here. And he does 2 damage to this guy. And then I will... It's Palpatine's turn. I think what we'll do is we'll just play another Colonel and heal. Sabine's like, I don't like that. And we will finally flip. Ready, Sabine. And then Palpatine has nothing to do, so claim the initiative. And so Sabine's like, okay, I can attack with Sabine into this guy and soften him so that this Battlefield Marine can kill it. And then we're going to play Medal Ceremony to level up, to give an experience token to both of these units, I guess. It's not ideal. So we'll use Sabine to put 2 into this guy. Sabine will take 3. Oop. And then we will use this guy, oops, to finish the job. Put 3 into the Royal Guard. And he dies, but so does the guard. And then we will play Medal Ceremony to give experience tokens to both Sabine and the Rebel Pathfinder there. And that's it. So then Sabine will draw 2. Sabine, this is just a tough game because Sabine's just drawn so poorly. You know, no space units. No pumping units, no K2, just low cost, not the best. So I feel bad for Sabine. I also misplayed by not flipping her on 4, and that just kind of illustrates I haven't played the Sabine deck a ton, and I'm still getting better at both of these decks and understanding it. And this is just a great way to kind of learn together and get better, understand the pacing, understand how powerful flipping the leader is, when to do it, and all of that. All right, so now we'll draw 2 with Palpatine, and we will then say, okay, very good. We've got some insane stuff here. So what do I want to play as a resource? So Agent Callus has Ambush, and if he defeats a unique unit, you can draw a card. So the only unique unit right here is Sabine. She is a 3/6, but she has 3 damage. So Callus could come in and finish that very nicely. And I could have played this last turn to get this back, I guess. Maybe it'll come in handy, but I think I don't need it in this matchup. I think we just play the cell block guard. I think it's better in control when you're doing some kind of massive trade or something. Control matchup is what I mean. Playing a deck with more valuable stuff in a slower game. And then we will wake it all up. And so there's 6 resources on the board here. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So we'll flip back to Sabine and let her. She needs to play one of these as a resource, but honestly, I don't think she will. I think she'll keep them both. So we'll just wake it all up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with just dropping Callus and killing Sabine. So we drop Callus, he's got Ambush, and, he's attacking Sabine. When is he not, right? And he'll do 4 damage to Sabine, which will kill Sabine, but Sabine will do 3 in response. And then that means that she flips back over as a leader and is exhausted here. Oh, when she attacked last round, she did do a damage to the base. So I'll apply that. And now it's Sabine's turn. So she'll play this, and I guess we can make this guy lose Sentinel again. Is that what we want to do? Or would we rather attack? I could kill... Oh, and Palp got to draw a card. I'll do that. I could kill Callus, or I could kill Yuarlan. Oh, playing Callus would heal from him. It's so bleak for Sabine. It's pretty much just a scoop at this point. I don't think she can draw anything to get back in this match. She's already behind so far on cards, and there's no damage on Palpatine's base. So if I were the Sabine player at this point, I would just concede the match, because I don't think I can win. And the reason I can't win is because I'm trying to kill Palpatine before they stabilized, and they've already done that. They have a better board than I do, which shouldn't be happening, and there's more damage on my base than their base, which obviously shouldn't be happening at this point. I have a bad card behind, and I don't really have much to show for it. Like, what am I going to do here? I can, yeah, sure, I guess I could attack and kill this, but then, Palpatine has this enormous board left over. I need to kill Callus. He's, a 4/1. But I don't even have the way to do that. So I think at this point, what would happen is this player would scoop, which is fancy terminology for I pick up all my cards, scoop them up, and we play a new game. So I think this is a good look, everybody, at a nice matchup here between these two decks. And it was not a great showing from Sabine because she didn't get a good shuffle. And I think Palpatine got a really good shuffle in the sense that he drew so much taunt and so many things on curve. He had just higher cost, higher value cards and was able to kind of hold off. The Colonel did his job just so good in the starting hand against this. But again, this is a small sample size. It's only one game. And I hope you have found it to be fun. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this matchup, these decks. And I know I made a ton of mistakes, but again, I'm playtesting. I'm trying to learn, and I thought this would be a fun place for us to both learn. So yes, please, let's talk about what we could do better and get better at this game together. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're still finding this series to be fun and informative. Take care.